I'm going to talk about one of the challenges that we have in the domain of the LibreOffice in terms of getting a help language that could help users and keep a lot of requirements in maintaining documentation and synchronize it with the developments. My name is Olivier. I am from the Document Foundation. I have been involved in LibreOffice since the beginning. I live in Brazil, which is quite hot at the moment, 42 degrees. And I'm also the translator for Brazilian Portuguese. So I handle not only the generation of documentation, but also the issue of translating the documentation. What we have is that why we need a help language. Because historically, the developers don't like to make documentations. So essentially, in our culture, in LibreOffice, everybody writes code but doesn't like to write documentation. So sometimes we have a lot of new features without documentation, and this is something that we need to fix, okay? The gap between the features and the help is widening. We are working to make it narrow possible, but it's always very hard. And the speed of development is much faster than the possibility of generating documentation, especially because in our environment, documentation is done by volunteers, okay? So coupling the help pages and the user interface elements is a challenge. The user interface of an application like LibreOffice is extremely extensive. We have more than 1,000 dialogues. We have a span of application that goes from spreadsheets, text documents, presentations, drawing, math equations, and databases. So it's a very broad scope of application. And we try to focus on user experience, because user experience is very important for us for the acceptance of our software. So basically, what we want to achieve is sort of a help language or XML, maybe XML or whatever, Markdown, as open as possible, okay? So no way to use closed tools or paid tools or proprietary tools. Flexible, that allows specific situations such as translations. Has to be precise because essentially the help that we have in LibreOffice is also some form of a references for regressions and feature descriptions. We would like, and this is one of the main issues, is to be contributor friendly. Today it's not contributor friendly because we have a cycle of development that includes the help pages into Git, and this is not very easy for the newcomers. Okay, and keep the pace of development. That means don't let this gap widen. Okay, very well. So basically, the specific of LibreOffice Help, it's an application with a broad scope, like I said. All the modules are tightly coupled. I mean, we don't have a spreadsheet application. We don't have a text document application. This is all integrated into a big application with several modules. We have a legacy XML, which is inherited from OpenOffice. The help that we have at the moment is above 500,000 words, which makes a book thick as this one. Okay, so we have to maintain and keep alive. It's mostly textual and few images. There is not multimedia at the moment, but the idea is to extend that for including new forms of communication between the help and the user. And we have a translation process in place that works. That means LibreOffice is translated into about 100 languages. So we need to address the translation. We do that, which also means that it's very hard for us to change the process in place, because we are touching about 100 teams of translators. And when we do a mistake, times 100, that makes a lot of noise. Okay? So this is what the challenge that we have. And what we do propose with what we have is that we have a set of XML and namespace that we want to improve for describing the menu path, the widgets, screenshots of the dialogues, describe icons and toolbars, includes multimedia, address the guide for the user and not only references, and also do indexing and search, and save the translation work. So at the moment, only half of these specifications are already working, and this is we have others to address. Okay. For example, in the menu, the menus in the application are described by an XML, and we would like to have these menu paths described in the textual help directly taken from the application. Okay, so we should use a transformation that picks the XML of the menus and the commands and put into the help directly. So if we change the position of these menus, automatically the help will change as well. Okay, this is one of the challenges that we have. Okay, the same for the widgets of the dialogues, for example. Not only we have to take the widget itself, the representation of the widget, but also its contents, which has to be translated. Okay, so again, we can use the dialogues XML, which is something used by GTK. The dialogues are in a GTK language, and to bring that into the helper pages. Okay. Icons and toolbars. We have to describe the icons and toolbars, follow improvements on the icon designs. On the last couple of years, we had a lot of discussion in LibreOffice design team. There is quite new icons coming, icon sets. So the interface may appear different from you, from one user to the other, depending on the set of icons that you use. And this has to be also covered by the help application. Yeah? Okay. The screenshots, we would like to, we have already screenshots done by simple copy of the screen, which in an automated process, but it would be nice to have it also using the XML to generate the image. Okay. Images is already implemented, so no problem there. And also we have some issues or problems to address, which means our system or our application runs on Mac, Windows, and Unix. And depending on the system, you have some features implemented on Mac, which is not implemented on Windows. Very few of them, not that much, but nevertheless, we have to address this difference between the systems. Okay, we have also inline context switches or block contents switches. Okay, for the visual part, we are implementing a specific tags to describe Python code and basic codes, and also code in general, and icons specifically to icon tables. When it comes to tips, notes, and warnings, this is already done. It's quite easy to just address in CSS, but it's the way that we have also to enhance the layout of our pages. Okay. For everything like that, we also have character classes for specific contents of the description on the helper pages, such as literal information. Input is something that allows us to click on a class input, and then it copies to the clipboard. So you can, if you have a code or a spreadsheet formula, you can just copy the formula and look it working directly in the application. Okay, this is for better user experience. Widgets, I already talked about, menus, and key codes also for all the keyboard codes that we have in the application. We developed also a online editor. This is the very first pre-alpha display. We have the XML of our editor. Some of these blocks can be automated, and we also can render the content of the page immediately after we edit here. You edit here, you click on render, and it displays the page there. Our help system is a sub-module in Git, so every time we change the XML, we have to create a commit and push to Gerrit. It's going to be reviewed by someone. You can imagine that reviewing XML is not something easy. It's quite complicated. So we are trying to connect this kind of editor, which this is just Code Mirror, okay, very well-known JavaScript editor, and it's the same as Gerrit. So we expect to be able to edit directly the pages in Gerrit and get the results and submit the patch automatically. And we would like to avoid all the work that today volunteers have, which means download the code, compile the help, check if the change is correct, and then generate a patch and push to the. So this cycle is extremely lengthy, and it takes a lot of time for us. For me, who is skilled, it takes at least 1 hour to generate all the stuff. Okay? Then, what's next? It is of interest to investigate then the XML transformations for dialogues, menus, and toolbars. We also would like to converge the help with these existing open document guides, which is a project we call Convergence. We have guides that has been written by volunteers. For example, on spreadsheet, the spreadsheet guide is a book with 400 pages. And we would like also that this kind of information be available in the help system of our LibreOffice, okay? And we are open to suggestion and collaboration. And if you want to join us, please go ahead. We are eager to get you. One thing that is important to say is that our help system is either offline and online, which means that today we have this XML, we do a transformation to HTML, and this HTML can be uploaded to a server, or it can be also deployed as a package for offline use, and it's exactly the same layout. Okay, so this is a constraint that we have. So it's not so easy just to generate a server installation. You have to also pack the HTML into a package. The other thing is that we have about 2,500 files per language, and it generates about something like 500 megabytes of help contents, okay, per language. So it's pretty heavy application that we have. The traffic that we have on our online service is about 60,000 visits a day of people looking for help when they use the application. So that's the context that we have and the challenge that we are addressing ahead. We cannot use throw away all legacy content. So using a brand new tool like I have seen here is very nice, but how can I address all this legacy, especially not only the legacy on English, but also the legacy on the translations, which it's about 100 translations. So it has to be something smooth for us if we have to get something different from that. So at the moment, this is not the being our vision. We expect to simplify and get it easier for the people to really help us in documenting the application. Okay, that's my presentation. If you have questions, please.
We have time for questions.
Yes?
Are you familiar with the DITA project? The DITA standard?
No, no.
Darwin Information Type Architecture. It's an XML language for documentation.
Okay.
It's huge. There's a really big community. It stands for Darwin because it's adaptable. So you can take the standards that has all of this that you're defining and make your own specialization, and then you would be able to use their tooling. And they have an open source tool called the Open Toolkit.
Okay.
That allows you to generate a bunch of things.
Yeah.
It's mostly proprietary community,
yeah.
but it's an open standard. So, and it would be super awesome to get open source community into that. If I can introduce you.
Yeah. We are using, of course, all the legacy from 15 years of, 20 years of OpenOffice and then LibreOffice. And moving away it's not, we really have to make a decision. And if something is easier, then I'm interested, at least.
It's not necessarily easier,
yeah.
There's more tooling.
Yeah, okay. yeah.
So it's also XML, so.
Okay, yeah.
But there's a community, mostly proprietary vendors that are using an open standard together, and there's a lot of interest for open source tooling.
Yeah.
So there would be match made in heaven.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Actually, I have a question as well. When you generate the screenshots, you generate them per platform, and does Mac and Windows?
You can generate the screenshots on every platform.
You automate them.
It's not yet automated. I do a make screenshot in my builds, and it generated, the screen starts to flicker because it opens all the thousands dialogues and takes a screenshot.
So they run locally, not on
yes.
CI.
No. Yeah. So, and yes, and then you have to connect the screenshot, the image, with the dialogue and with the help page corresponding. So it's this is not yet automated. Okay. Yes.
So you said that you have 100 of translations and a lot of legacy.
Yes.
So, and of course, there is a possibility of inconsistencies among the different translations. So, how do you find that some part of the documentation is inconsistent?
Well,
Is something manual or
no. The translation is done by volunteers in every language. We have used to have a leader and a team, and they handle themselves each release that we have, and we have 2 releases per year, we publish the help. 99% of the help of the new release is exactly the same as the previous, so there is only the delta, the difference that is being addressed. And then the translators, the team of translators locally is in charge of keeping the translation synchronized with the help in English.
if they don't?
Then the user of their language will suffer because they were not addressing that. Yeah. No. This is because this is a volunteer project. It's not, there is no specific investment by the foundation into generating professional documentation. Okay.
Why is there no more professional?
It's the board. This is a decision with the board of the foundation. So.
If user experience matters and there is no help, where is user experience with no help and documentation?
LibreOffice is a project that is run by a foundation with no non-for-profits. So if a company wants to take the code and improve it by themselves, they are free to do that. Okay, so at the moment we generate the content of the help in a volunteer basis. The foundation doesn't invest in. Oh, this is not me. Okay. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
LibreOffice usually has its own track somewhere as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, there is another track right there, yes. So, with a lot of new things.
We'll be back again in about 8 minutes with a smackdown. I'm a huge fan of Pandoc, and this next speaker wants to tell me why I shouldn't be.